Yo, welcome to Garage Hangs today, man. It's your host, Chief Heimer. I got my friend Tim in the garage today hanging out.
Morning, everybody.
Yes. Yeah, good morning. Yes. Good morning. Glad to have you here, man.
Yeah.
This is awesome, dude.
Glad to be able to come through and do this for you.
Yeah. Well, no,
I'm excited.
Yeah. We've always had a good conversation, man. And
yeah. I enjoyed working with you, man. We always had a lot of fun sitting just, bullshitting at the register, playing with customers.
Right. Anyway, I wanted to open up this episode quick too to tell you, because I know you ride motorcycles and shit, and I got my Honda or whatever, and since I've had it, I haven't done any service really on it besides like my back tire getting fixed and putting a brand new back tire on, and so I'm like, my buddy next door, he knows what he's doing, mechanic and shit like that. So I was like, hey, is there any way you could help me out with like changing the fluid in my coolant, on the bike?
Right.
Because on that, you got to take the tank off because the cap's underneath the right side by the frame.
Okay.
And the drain's underneath, so you got to take that green cover off and then lift the tank. Anyway, so I walk it over there because I didn't want to start it up. And the driveway kind of has like a little bit of an incline. And I was like holding the front brake a little bit, so I didn't really have to hold on to it. Dude, you open up the garage and like my forks went all the way down. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, dude, what just happened? I was like, did my shit just lock up on me, like, for real? And I was able to push in there. You could hear it squeaking and shit. Like, I'm like, what the hell just happened? Sure enough, I took off that front caliper, man, and it was...
Just the whole caliper locked up?
Well, apparently, it did. So, pushed the pins back in, right?
Right.
Walked it home just fine. Rode it just fine. Rode it. Got a new one. Okay, I bought a used one off of eBay. That thing was a piece of shit. I'm actually got to send it back. So when you're looking at a caliper on this Honda, there's two clips on each side of that sitting there, right?
Right.
They're supposed to be like stamped, pressed in there. Mm-hmm. They're not supposed to move. These ones on the new one wouldn't stay in place.
Just wiggle space.
Yeah, it just kept wiggling around, and I'm like, this ain't right. Like, even my buddy was like, this ain't right. So I ended up taking off the old one. I mean, the new one that was on there, that was the new one. And he took off, and we cleaned the old one. And I took it down to my other buddy down the street. He's like, dude, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with the old one. He said the pin just popped out of it. That's it. No big deal. I'm like, okay. He's like, I just pushed it right back in, and it's fine. I'm like, okay. So I messaged the seller on eBay, and I was like, dude, this isn't working, man. And he's like, can you send me a picture? And I'm like, why do I have to send you a picture if I'm telling you the pins on the side are supposed to be stamped in there? He's like, no, they're supposed to be pressed. I'm like, isn't that the same word? Stamped and pressed? Isn't that like kind of like
stationary? Like,
yeah, they're
keyword,
not
stationary. They're not supposed to move.
Exactly.
They're holding your caliper in place, so when you stop, your fucking bike doesn't flip over.
Exactly. So back to like my neighbor telling me about this shit. So we're just checking the coolant, leads into that problem, right? He's like, just imagine doing 40, 50, 60, 70 miles an hour and that thing would have locked up. I was like, yeah, my top head of my helmet, man, wouldn't have done shit. I would have been gone. See ya. I
mean, dude, but the cool thing is your last experience would have been Superman, dude. You literally like dun 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 dun. Put both arms out because whatever you smack, bro. It's, the flight's not the problem. It's the sudden stop.
Yeah.
You slam into something, all of a sudden it becomes the problem. No, dude, you don't know it, man. But I actually tell people about your bike all the time because it doesn't have a speedometer on it. And that shit cracks me the fuck up, dude. I'm like, can you imagine getting pulled over by a cop? And he's like, do you know how fast you were going? You're like, yeah, about 55.
That's a good point. What's crazy is I really want to get the speedometer intact for that thing. They're just rare to find. Like $150, dude.
No, my favorite thing on my bike is driving past people getting seatbelt tickets. That shit's hilarious. But I'm like, seatbelts, I don't even have fucking doors. Like,
in Illinois, you have to wear a helmet, don't you?
No. Illinois is not a helmet required law. So we actually, the abate. Oh,
that's Missouri is what it is. Yeah, my bad.
Abate actually works very hard every year to make sure that does not become a law. We actually have a number of people in the organization that I ride for that are active members of debate and actually go down to Springfield every year to do the lobbying and
Oh, cool.
are actually involved in that directly hands-on, which is a lot of fun.
That's neat. Hell yeah.
It's neat to see the grassroots action of them being able to go down and directly interface with the senators and representatives and be able to actually voice their opinion in word and show facts and reasons. Now, me personally, I always wear a helmet. You'll never catch me on my bike without a helmet.
Yeah.
But that's a personal choice I make.
I normally do wear mine. Like, I wore mine a lot to Sunnyside after just realizing, and even around here too, but I really want to get a full face helmet, dude, because there's nothing there on that one, dude. It's just freaking, you know what I mean? It's just more like of a style thing, with the style of the bike and my character, and it just kind of, it fit me personally. But now it's like, I really want a full face, because even riding on them colder mornings, I have like that weird thing with my ears when it gets super cold. The inside of your eardrum, it like almost looks like it feels like you have a headache in both of your ears, just from like the pressure of riding and then the cold wind also. And then having a full face, that would just eliminate that completely, and I wouldn't have a problem riding at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning.
No, it definitely makes it a lot better.
Yeah.
The other thing too is like a windshield. Like, I feel like I spend a lot of the time, like, I'll never ride without a windshield again, because I spend the whole time fighting to hold my body up from the wind coming through the handlebars, where your windshield stops that entirely.
I was going to say, how does that actually feel when you are riding with a shield compared to
night and day difference? Because next time we're out and about, dude, I will let you take my bike on a run, and I swear to God, you will immediately go out and buy a windshield for your bike. Like, and that's, you see like, big choppers, and they're nice and everything, but dude, that's a lot of energy, especially when you're doing 55, 60, and you've got, the wind blowing on you, just holding your body up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's it's even crazy doing 55, 60 on that, it's kind of after a while, you got to take a break from leaning forward a little bit. So, like, I usually just ride with, hand, and just even feeling that pressure just going across. It's like, I could let go of my hand, I could probably...
Yeah, pop up like a parachute, dude. Like, right off the back of the bike.
Yeah.
Windshield stops that entirely.
Nutty. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know for that, I know they had like this, like, on the Sportsters, they had like them shorter ones that kind of look more sporty than more for like
the
actual
short windshields that are like that tall that just kind of go across the front.
They kind of curve. Yeah, that's what that bike initially had.
Even that, because what that does is that breaks the wind line, so that instead of hitting you in the chest, it's now going up and over.
Oh shit, yeah.
So, because if you think about like the direction, it's hitting a surface to push it, up and above you.
Man, I should look into that.
It's not gonna fully solve it, but definitely it's better.
Dude, I should definitely look into that, because I mean, with them older bikes, everything's a little bit more expensive just because it's scarce. It's just kind of this, like even when I was talking to you about shit about that, trying to find someone to help me do shit, and I've called a few places around, and no one will touch anything under the year 2000 now. No one will. I mean, just because it's a liability, and there's just scarce parts and freaking, like, so I just had to download that service manual, dude, and I'm gonna have to have a guy step, kind of be like a monitor for me, because I have no idea what I'm doing. None. Like, you can watch YouTube videos and shit, obviously, but I like that direct on learning, like, someone knowing that they've done shit like this before, and they're mechanically like that. That'd be great. It'd just be a bonus and a help, to be honest.
Well, and my bike's a rebuilt 92, so, in the same boat.
There's a 92?
Yeah, that's a 92. Actually, Harley only did that paint job on the 92 Softail, and they never reproduced it on another bike.
No shit.
So the 92 Softail is the only bike that looks like that.
Your bike is in really great shape for the year it's in, dude. I thought it was more like a 2005, 2006.
And it was,
that's crazy.
It was a lot of work put into it. I bought it off of a guy named Father John, good friend of mine. He's friends with my wife. He rides with another riding organization called Wolfpack.
Nice.
It's a Rockford social club. Great group of guys, but I actually had gotten it off of him.
Nice.
And have continued to maintenance it since then. My wife's bike is so much nicer than mine, though. It's terrible.
What does she have?
She's got like an 04 Softail, but her bike is gorgeous. But just was working at Harley when she bought it, so she kind of had perks I didn't get.
Right. Yeah, because you brought that Trickle Charger that one day and were like, you got that from the shop from her.
Yeah.
I need to get that still.
Dude, that thing was so nice.
I need to get that still.
That is, I keep that in my saddlebag. That and the air pump does the same thing, dude. Hooks right to my battery, just pump tires.
That bike has like enough storage on the right side of it with the cover, because the battery's on this side. The cover of it is literally like, it's like this deep and it's like this tall. Right. Like I have a pair of the clear sunglasses for at night in there, and that's it. Like, not much storage on that thing. It's not meant for storage, man. It's meant for short rides, cool eye peel. That's it. No, it's a fun bike.
That's us baggers, bro. So while we're baggers, we got to have our bags so we can carry our shit.
Well, see, that's the thing too. Is like I've been looking into like, you know, I really want to get a Heritage Softail. I really do, man. I dig the style of that bike, man. It looks really nice. I could see myself riding it. But it's just that cha-ching.
Heritage Softail. It's a beautiful bike.
It's a cha-ching thing, though.
It is.
Harleys are expensive as fuck.
They are. That's you're not wrong.
But it's just, you know, it's like, do you choose Android or Apple?
Well, and
you choose Harley, Honda, Suzuki, you know?
Every bike I've had up to this has been a metric bike. I had a Mean Streak 1600 before this. I had a Vulcan before that. And, truth be told, the experience is, Harleys are nice, but, dude, I broke just fine on both my metric bikes, so they didn't cost a fraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think I paid 18 for that. The dude won on 24.
That's not bad.
I mean, now I could probably.
Now, do you ever go riding like large groups?
I don't. I mean, you're literally like, I know a few people in town that I know they have bikes, but I always ride alone. I always just go. I usually just do laps around town. That's pretty much just really all I do is stay in town. Beloit's the farthest I've gone on it.
Okay.
But also with not having speedometer comes along with not having a gas gauge, so I don't like riding too far.
Well, it's funny, dude, on mine, I've got to replace my odometer, which is because I don't have a gas gauge either. I just have to track my miles. And I had an ignition problem last year, and while we were fixing the ignition, the odometer arm broke off.
Oh, shit.
So I can't reset it.
Oh, God.
So I've got to replace the entire instrument cluster because I can't just replace just that, so I'm trying to find one.
Of course.
A little tricky. So I'm playing the same game, dude. I'm like, all right, so I filled up like this many hours ago.
I mean, I could do that. I need to figure out what the gas mileage is on that thing. I don't even know how many gallons of gas. I just freaking go and put $7, $8 in at a time. Whatever. Or however much it is to fill it. I'm not really sure. I don't even pay attention to it, to be honest.
We're getting ready to do... So, the organization I ride for is Widow Sons. It's a Freemason motorcycle organization. So it's actually one of the largest riding associations in the world. It's in all 50 states. Multiple, I believe it's like 19 countries right now that are all fully under the world brand. But you can find it anywhere from the Philippines to Mexico to Canada to, all over the country.
Damn.
But... generally we ride in, larger groups. And when we had our grand gathering a couple years ago, was the same year Harley had their, I think it was their 120th anniversary. And so we took a ride from Woodstock County Fairgrounds to the Harley Museum. And it was 574 bikes, all patched Widow Sons, stretched out over 3.5 miles. And they had to shut 90 down to get us on and off. Because it was literally such a gigantic train of bikes. We took up an entire football field when we got to the Harley Museum to park the bikes. It was pretty wild.
That's
we're
awesome.
Getting ready to have our first ride of the season is always the first Saturday in April. It's called Up Day. And so we're getting ready to go from Rockford up to like northern Wisconsin. So we're going to ride pretty much, hard all day there and all the way back. Go up there, and there's an event up there we're going to out on like a lake, so it's supposed to be a lot of fun.
Dude, hell yeah!
But it's a neat experience to ride as a group as compared to with yourself.
Yeah,
because you feel a little more insulation from traffic. Like I don't know about you, but I'm always really super hyper aware.
Oh yeah.
Of traffic when I'm riding.
Constantly just looking around.
I play this game where I pretend I'm invisible. and like 90% of the time I'm right.
Yeah.
So it's, people just they don't see you. And before I started riding, loud pipes always really annoyed me. I'm like, God, why does that bike have to be so damn loud? That's crazy, But now as a rider, I know that you may not be able to see me, but you damn sure can hear me.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so therefore, there's not an excuse for you not to see me anymore.
Yep.
And so I understand, and as somebody that used to be an inconvenience to me until I understood why.
Yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing when I'm at stoplights too, bro. Like, I'll make sure, I'm either in neutral or have my hand on the clutch, and I'll sit there and just in rev until, getting ready to take off. So, like, people fucking are paying attention. I almost got clipped a couple times last year, like, and it is what it is. But I want to go back to the whole ride in a group thing, because I actually have, but I wasn't riding. Okay. So when I was younger, my mom was a part of an organization here in town that they did a lot of poker runs and stuff like that too. Mm-hmm. And the guy she was with was a sergeant of arms of that chapter here. And so he had to be up at the top of the fleet. I think we were like fourth or fifth or second or third. I was really young. I was like 12, 13 years old. But he had a dyno lowrider that had some speed to it. I think he did a quarter mile in like 8.5. Things fast. And so when we were, in that group, I'd ride it with him. And, there'd be 50, 75, 100 people, because we'd go to different locations and pick up more people at this, by the poker run,
Always.
And, every time we were getting ready to turn down a road, me and him would break off and we'd fly forward. Two of us would fly forward, hauling ass, and then, putting our hands out to stop. Yep. And then everyone, eventually comes, kicks that down, and just hauls ass all the way back up to the front. And it was just so cool, man, because sitting on the back of that dyno with the full face on was just like, head down and just barely looking over, like, my stepdad at the time when I was riding on the back, the back of the bike with him. And it was just the coolest thing. And then right when you got up to the top, you kind of slowed down, just veered right in.
Yep, you get right back in the line.
Yeah. It was the coolest shit when you were a kid, man. Like, so that actually really, I knew at that point I was going to get a bike at some time in my life. It ain't a Harley. It's my first freaking bike, dude. I love riding, dude. I absolutely love it. And I'm pretty sure I'd have a great time going out with you guys, too. I just got to keep track of mileage.
Yeah.
Like, I'd have to be stopping every fucking 45 minutes, dude.
We got a couple guys that have some smaller gas tanks, so we have to play that game. And one guy that's got a smaller bladder, so it's basically the same thing.
And
shit! Every time somebody's got to fill up, he's got to empty out. So it's like, dude, it's an even trade.
Right.
It's the fun thing though, dude, is like some of the writing names in our chapter, and like the way that writing names are given and received, like essentially.
Right. Yeah, the nicknames and shit, yeah.
Yeah, like my road name is High Point, and it's double meaning. So obviously it's spelled H-I-G-H because, dude, my buddy the one day told me, he's like, dude, you're like Pigpen from Peanuts, but instead of dirt coming off of you, it's weed odor. You just stand there, and it's just like wafts off you.
Hey, don't you love when people give you good nicknames, man?
Bro,
good nicknames.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so it's pretty good. But like, I've got a buddy in the chapter. His road name is Slots, and him and I were going through a ceremony one day together, and it was really super hot, like 100 degrees. So we're outside and had shirts off. They're pouring water on everybody, trying to keep us cool and shit. The state president from, probably about 6 yards, dude, flicks a dime. 1 in a million shot, dude. Hits him in the back and goes right down his ass crack, dude. Like, I mean, I couldn't have reproduced it if you paid him in front of like 100 people. So, I mean, obviously the cheer that went up was ridiculous, and that's how road names are made. And stuff like that.
Man, I'd love to like tell the story behind my mom's, but I'm not going to put her on blast like that. I don't need to talk about. Yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah. Sorry, I really want to talk, but I'm not going to say it just because it's not my business to say. But yeah, the whole process of the nickname is insane, and I think it's fucking hilarious. I keep thinking about what my mom's was.
Well, and you can guarantee that it's definitely something done to earn it. Like, and your first nickname you get usually is just something really obvious and something you just pull out until you actually earn one.
Yeah.
So, but then you end up doing something stupid one day or something ridiculous, and it just sticks.
Right, like you walk in with squeaky shoes and someone calls you Squeak. You know.
Well, my buddy Peaches drank had a jar of moonshine that had been being carried around all day, and it was peach moonshine with peaches in the bottom.
Nice.
And
sounds tasty.
It was delicious. One thing we do at Rally, we all make different moonshines, and everybody shares. And so we're walking around with this jar of peaches. That's all that was left was the peaches, and I handed it to him, and I told him to take one. There's probably 6 or 7 peaches in there. They've been sitting in moonshine all day, dude. He dumped the whole jar in his mouth.
Oh.
And I looked at him. I was like, whoa. And I watched his eyes get really big when he bit it, because, dude, they were soaked in moonshine.
Oh, I'm sure.
He managed to chew it up and swallow it. And I was like, dude, that's one of the most gangster things I've ever seen in my entire life. Your name is Peaches.
See, shit like that's just funny, dude.
Yeah,
but that's crazy though, man. Like, there's no way now you'd catch me doing that.
No way,
I'd be fucking passing out.
Yacked,
you might as well just give me a pillow. Yeah, you might as well give me a pillow right now and just call it a day.
He's a gangster, bro.
That's amazing. Shout out to freaking Peaches, man.
Hard. Yeah, dude.
Dude's a soldier. Sounds like
Peaches.
I don't even know, dude. Man, you sound dope, legendary. That's crazy. Yeah, man. I really should, man. I need to. I'm gonna look up how much that tank is, and
just get the extended tank on it.
Well, no, I was just gonna see how many miles I can actually go on that. You know what I mean? Because then I'll be able to know because there also is reserve too, which can go for 15 miles.
Usually about 10, 15.
Yeah, so at that point, I've had that happen to me too. I've used to ride to Fort back and forth too for work, and anytime I'd leave, I'd just fill up here, and then when I'm leaving, I'd fill up there just to top off on the way back, so I wouldn't run out of gas. Well, I'm like, fuck it, I got enough gas to get back to town. Like, what the hell? I'm holding the throttle down, and that shit's starting to bog down. I'm like, man, don't tell me my bike is fucked up right now. I'm like, god damn it, because I've never had an issue like that before. So I turned the reservoir tank on, I pulled over and shit, and sure enough, man, I was like, all right, I'm out of gas. I gotta get the fuck to town. And I did. I filled up. I just don't want to be in that kind of predicament, you know what I mean? Because especially not exploring outside of I know places around because I've driven around a lot of Wisconsin towns and shit. I know where gas stations and stuff are. But when you get out on them country roads and you don't know, even the roads too, you got to be careful on that thing because you hit a bump, the tire hits the back of that seat where the felt is underneath that seat, and has been putting skid marks in it and shit, and you just gotta watch out for roads and holes and fucking bumps and shit like that because that bike don't take it good. It just isn't.
I'm sure not.
I always freaking have to dodge shit, dude. That's why I stick around town because I know town roads. I know where to go and where not to go. It's kind of like having a freaking very expensive car. You know where not to go and where not to go.
Don't want to drive on this one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna drive on this. Them lower cars. You can't, dude. You just gotta pay attention to shit like that. And
I always wonder how those people don't bottom those out.
I know, same,
dude. I've seen literally a 1/4 inch clearance on the bottom of the ground.
What the hell, dude? There's rocks.
I bottom my car out sometimes, and it's regular height.
Right.
I feel like I would rip I'd go into just even the slightest incline into a gas station, dude, and just drive over my bumper and just keep going. Whole front end just stays, and you just keep moving.
Oh shit. Yeah. You want to take a quick break quick? Yeah.
Sure.
About the 25-minute mark. Yeah. Save a couple minutes. Fuck it. We're back after the break. All right, everybody. Welcome back from the break. This is it. We are episode 37 today.
Wow. Dude, you're probably plugging
37.
That's doing really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got some really good content.
I appreciate that, man. It's just fun. I find this fun and relaxing, enjoyable. I love talking. And, that's kind of why I started doing this. That's mainly the reason why I started doing this. But let's dive into the second half of this show here, because we're about to dig, not even just a small 2-3 foot hole in your backyard. we're talking, you might as well grab a fucking backhoe and tear up your whole yard.
dig into some,
as a joke.
Some deep conspiracy theory.
Yeah, because the people want to hear this shit. We want to hear it. We want to talk about it. We want to engaged. So, what do you got for me today? Because I want to hear some things.
Well, and even more than people want to hear it, they want to know that they're hearing it from a reputable source.
Yeah.
And something that they can trust to be accurate and correct.
Mm-hmm.
So I am the current worshipful master of Belvedere Masonic Lodge number 60, which means I'm essentially the president of the lodge. I'm on my second 3-year term since I've been a member of the lodge. I've been a life member of Freemasonry since 2010. I also belong to a few what are called dependent bodies, which are organizations that you can join once you complete your journey through Masonry. So Shriners, for example, and guys who wear the red fezzes have, the Shriners Children's Hospitals. To be a Shriner, you have to be a Mason. That's the only way into that organization. That's a Masonic dependent body. The Scottish Rite, which is you hear people talk about like 32nd and 33rd degree Masons, and sometimes you'll see it pictured as a double-headed eagle. That's, again, an appendant body. The Knights Templar, the Rosicrucians, Widow Sons, which is a motorcycle organization that I ride in. All of these are just further branches that are designed to not only increase your knowledge but your understanding. Mm-hmm. And they all focus on different aspects of things. So in Masonry, essentially, your Masonic journey consists of 3 steps, which essentially are delineated as the 3 principal phases of life: youth, adulthood, and then seniority. So as a Mason, you start as an entered apprentice, which in olden times their job was to be the bearers of burden. They did all of the really hard labor, and then from there you become, it's called a fellow craft, which is basically someone that would be the in-between. So they would take the rough stones that were given to them by the entered apprentices, and they would start to shape them to be used as the stones to be used for a building.
Okay.
And then they would go from there to a master mason, who would there then finish the stones, and the stones would be placed to create a structure. And what Freemasonry does is it takes the principles of construction and architecture, and it uses them, instead of to build a building, to build a better man. And so the 3 main tenets of Freemasonry are faith, hope, and charity. And of those, charity is the most important, because faith is something that can be lost. Hope is something that ends when you receive what you've been hoping for. But charity is the only thing that extends beyond our life. So when we're gone, the only things that essentially are left are the good deeds and the things that we've done for others and to help others. Mm. And that is essentially the goal of a Mason.
Hell yeah.
So, but
we've talked briefly on it. You've given me some information on it, but that is beyond cool that you're a part of something like that.
Yeah. But it's
really
at the same time, there's a lot of controversy and things that surround Masonry, because it is such an ancient organization. It's existed for as long as it has.
Right, and some people may not think that's like the right way or some shit, right?
Well, it's just
outdated or something.
If you look back to like the founding of our country was founded by Freemasons. All of our founding fathers were Freemasons. Mm-hmm. And it goes farther back than that. There's principles of thought that the Freemasons actually gave the King of Spain the instructions to find America, and that Columbus didn't necessarily find that by accident. It was something that was predetermined for him to find.
Wow. Because
at that point, that was a monarch through which they had the ability to control expansion.
That's interesting.
So
wow.
There's talk of the Holy Grail. Of course, the Holy Grail is normally seen as an item, as like a chalice or a cup that theoretically Jesus drank from at the Last Supper.
Yeah.
So there's basically a theory that the Holy Grail isn't actually an item. It was the knowledge of industry and society and growth and community that they brought with them to America to build what at the time was supposed to be the New Jerusalem, which was essentially the plan for America when they founded it. So you find things that are heavily influenced by Freemasonry even today. You know, we talked briefly on Washington, D.C. If you look at Washington, D.C. on a map, it is a perfect geographical square, and it's designed that way. In Masonry, everything is like done on what's called the level. So if you've ever heard somebody say, oh, that guy's okay, he's on the level, right? That's a Masonic phrase that has made its way into mainstream like language and conversation.
Yeah, okay.
Or if you've ever heard somebody has been blackballed.
Right,
Dude, that guy couldn't go back there, they blackballed him.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a Masonic phrase.
Okay, yeah.
So when you petition to join a lodge, the vote for you to join has to be completely unanimous. Every single person has to vote yes. And the reason for that is harmony is basically the most important thing in all organizations and institutions. And that harmony already exists within the lodge. So to bring another person into that fold requires the acceptance of everybody. So
interesting.
In a lodge, you know, who you are outside is essentially discarded when you walk in. It allows men of all backgrounds, of all religions, all financial standings, all histories to come together in a place where good can be done for the group as a whole, without individual bickering.
Wow.
So, but you know, you look back at, like, you know, the geographic square of Washington, D.C., you go ahead and you look at the, you know, the monuments that are laid out in Washington, D.C., the obelisk, the George Washington Masonic Memorial. If you put these on a map in the square and you draw lines, it actually creates a square and compass, which is the, you know, basically the main symbol of Freemasonry, which is this guy you see right here in the middle of that. That is the square on the bottom and the compass on the top. So that symbol itself is basically the symbolic symbol of Freemasonry. So if you look at the way the monuments are laid out, it actually is laid out in that shape, which is a lot of fun when you dig into it. And you can actually walk that path, and it ends at the George Washington Masonic Memorial, which is one of the biggest Masonic memorials in the country.
Do some research on this, guys. This is pretty interesting. Main goal, I like that, is to make a better man out of the program. That's really cool, man. I dig that. That's really cool.
It is. It's neat. And it's so, like, for
kind of just blows my mind a little bit how, like, things fade over time, and how this, like, doesn't get passed down and doesn't get, like, taught and brought up and as much as it should. You know what I mean?
You're right. And interestingly enough, you know, Masonry, and just like all fraternal organizations right now, are really suffering because we live in a society now where people just have a lot more to do. People are a lot busier.
Yeah.
You know, generally, you know, charity and things tend to, you know, fall a little bit more by the wayside. So you know, through the Masonic organizations I work with Meals on Wheels. We work with the RAMP organization of Belvedere, which provides like removable and permanent wheelchair ramps for people when they get injured, so they can, you know, come and go from their homes.
Yeah.
Illinois as a state historically has had two children's orphanages in Southern Illinois, which we no longer operate, but that was a you know, a huge outreach for many, many years. Of course, we have the Shriners Children's Hospitals, which is all funded by the what's called the Great Lakes Shrine Network, which is, you know, all the shrines in this area.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's a lot of outreach, and that's as Widow Sons. That's, you know, what we do is basically
So that's a whole separate thing.
Right. So Widow Sons is an independent body of Freemasonry.
Okay.
So once you go through your 3 degrees of Masonry to become a Master Mason, at that point you can then branch off and join independent bodies. Right, so at that point you could say if you ride a motorcycle, you could, you know, look into becoming a Widow Son. So as Widow Sons, what we do is we basically complete charitable rides just all throughout the year, just donate as much money as we possibly can, ride as much as we possibly can, and, you know, spread the love and goodwill of Masonry just throughout the community, and help with some of the education, and to try and, you know, destigmatize the biker community a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's a good
even if
message.
to the best of our ability, you know, and obviously that's so much bigger than we are. But when you're out in a group, and especially when you're wearing, you know, a vest that has Masonic symbols on it, or a shirt that has a square and compass on it, if somebody talks to you about that or interacts with you, you may be the only Freemason they've ever met. And they're going to base their entire outlook on the fraternity and organization on that interaction with you.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, as Masons, you're taught to always, you know, essentially act your best, keep your, you know, your passions within due bounds, circumscribe, and, you know, always act accordingly and justly upon being a Mason. Like, you should always act as a Mason.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
Because
I do that.
I mean, like I said, you never know.
Yeah.
But it's really neat, because there's the big thing is the outreach that it provides to its members. So we have the main goal of Masonry essentially as well is to take care of the widows and orphans of Masons. So there are, each state has, you know, a fund set up that is specifically to assist the families of Masons that have passed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I have 2 daughters. For the rest of their lives, if there's anything they ever need, you know, long after I'm gone, they have the ability to reach out to the Grand Lodge of Illinois, and they have the assistance they need available.
Amazing.
You know, that's really a cool thing and a peace of mind that, you know, it's hard to get through something else or somewhere else.
Yeah.
But you know, you sit through you know, like a lodge meeting, and the way that it's open and closed, and it all seems very, you know, offhanded and easy, and when in fact it's actually practiced and rehearsed, and it's done and said exactly the same way it's been done for thousands of years, step by step, word by word. And those traditions are essentially passed down from word to mouth, from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
And through that process, Masonry there survives, which is really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really neat. I dig that.
But I know you were kind of talking about the pyramids a little bit, and, you know, some of the stuff they were looking at the pyramids for, like conducting electricity and.
Oh yeah, that person that commented on. I didn't get a chance to research that yet. People threw a bunch of topics at me. I had to figure out what I could do.
Really fun stuff to dig into on the pyramids, but even more so as you look at, you know, the size of those stones and the ability to move those stones and place them without essentially what we would consider today to be modern equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild to think that when you have, you know, essentially, unfortunately, a slave force that is hundreds of thousands of people that are working in unison towards one goal, that the things that can be accomplished are just, it's wild. You see, you know, something like a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, that was a terrible shame, and those people were absolutely subjugated beyond like anyone would ever want to be. But
oh, I thought I had to turn my fan. I thought the fan was on.
oh, okay.
It's like, man, the mic picks up everything, dude. These things are insane.
Yeah.
But sorry, yeah, it makes me wonder too. I've even heard wear copper around your body, like on like bracelets and like earrings and shit, because like it attracts.
Well, it
conducts energy.
What it also does is so obviously everything in nature is electricity and is vibrating, right?
Yeah.
So you've never actually touched anything. When you go to touch a surface, there is a microfine layer of electricity between your finger and that surface that your brain uses to determine what that surface is, what it feels like, what its texture is, what its temperature is.
Right. That's
so
crazy.
In theory, because of that force of energy, you've never really, in fact, touched anything. Just like if you think about it, you've never actually seen yourself. Okay, you've only seen a reflection of yourself.
Yeah.
right? So you've never actually seen what you look like to other people. You've only seen a reversed.
Yep.
Which technically, I mean, your eyes reverse images anyways as well, but
yeah,
you know, it's interesting.
The stuff like that's kind of wild
when
to
you
think
get
about.
into, you know, the ability and you know, the theory of the pyramids being able to be used to conduct electricity based on the, you know, the lines in which they're laid and the way that they're laid out, like geographically, they absolutely could have been used as, you know, giant batteries, and it's really cool to look into.
Yeah,
because that could have really essentially been the ultimate goal for them, was, you know, a universal power source, which is something that we still don't have. But you know, it's crazy. We've forgot, as humanity, we've forgotten more knowledge than we'll ever regain.
Oh, yeah. And that's just all for purposes of not having that repeated because I want it some certain way.
Well, you look at, you know, like things that are forever lost, like, you know, the libraries at Alexandria that contained, you know, thousands of years of history on scrolls that were just burnt. There were no other record of ever. Just history that just vanished and no longer exists. And it's crazy to think that you could just wipe out an aspect of time like that. Just a whole period just gone. But
yeah, you know, that's just because you I guarantee you there's stuff in there that people just don't want everyone to see, and they hide. You know, there's things that are hidden, man. Like, go down major wormholes of conspiracies with government, with freaking companies. Like, you know, like, it's just, everything is just crazy, and they don't want anyone to know any proof about it. But I think where they fucked up as is getting social media, because now there's video proof of things happening and people leaking things and stuff like that, and you dig deeper, and that's when it starts making more sense, because they don't want the general public to know. I personally think generally what's really going on, like with this whole eclipse thing. That's another thing I talked about on that day with the cicadas and shit. Talked about the eclipse coming up. Why is the National Guard and like a whole bunch of people going to this? Like, tell me why the National Guard is showing up at an eclipse. Something's going down.
Yeah,
something's definitely going down, dude.
They're gauging it as like they're gonna have a giant onset of people that are gonna come there to view it.
Yeah,
so
I don't know, but why would
But I mean, that's certainly a pretty reasonable guise.
Yeah,
to get the National Guard in there without
because you could just get
everybody.
Yeah, you could just get a couple of police stations around the area and just keep it cool. Like, be like, hey, this is the area that we're all gonna be in, and that's it. Contain it. Why does a U.S. military gotta be there?
Well, and if you think of all of the crazy, like, supposed to have been world-ending events that we've lived through, even in our life.
Well, we've been through a lot.
Remember the end of the Mayan calendar? Everybody freaked out when the Mayan calendar ran out. It was like, I don't know, maybe a handful of years ago. The Mayan calendar basically had an end date on it. It had been for hundreds of years, and it finally like came to an end. They're like, that's the end of time. Dude, we're done. They just did. Yeah. And dude, the funniest thing I saw was, that whole thing was like, it was just a little one-panel comic somebody had drawn. It was in, like, I think, the paper somewhere. And it was a guy carving on this stone. He was like, "Oh, I run out of room." And the dude standing over goes, "That's gonna mess somebody up one day." And you know, it's funny how often it could be something like that. But you know, it's celestial events are interesting things.
Yeah, and I think because you're how much older are you? A couple years older than me, aren't you?
I turned 39 this year, actually.
Okay, I'll be 34 in September. So yeah, just in the last, 2023, dude. In the last 3 years, I felt like we've lived 10. And so much has happened. Just think about what's happened since freaking the beginning of this year till now. You got this shit with Diddy going on. You got this shit with fucking, what's that one? Celeste Brown. They got kicked off the show for bringing light about stuff that he was on Breakfast Club 2 with Charlamagne and all them leaking stuff, and she got fired. And dude, there's just a bunch of shit going on, way more than normal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't understand why people aren't grasping that and understanding that. You know what I mean? Because one, sheeps. But then you got people like us that I would like to be aware of what the fuck is going on, honestly. I ain't scared of shit.
Again, it's not. I don't even think it's necessarily sheeps. What it is it's again, as a society, we have so much to distract us.
Well, yeah, that too. But there's also people.
So many outlets that pull your conscious all the time.
Yeah.
That keeping a focus on something is actually requires.
Yeah, it's
like attention and focus.
Yeah, and damn near now today it's just like you got like 15 to 30 seconds of a time span of acknowledging something, and then you want to scroll on something different.
So like, there's a commercial that's going around right now, and I don't know what company it's for, but it's like aliens basically flying saucers over the city and like trying to alert all the people, and everybody's looking at their phone, and nobody can see them. And then they finally send a message to all the phone that says, "Hey, look up," and then everybody looks up like, "Oh my God, aliens!" And that's the point, is everybody is so ingrained in their everyday life and what they're doing that you could literally have flying saucers fly over your head, and most people probably wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And it's really, dude.
That shit's nuts,
they make a really valid point. Though,
I know.
Right?
I know.
It's like it's terrible, but it's real.
I think of shit like that all the fucking time, dude. All the time. Just the odds of shit, and just people probably think I'm nuts. But like, honestly, man, like, can you think outside the box just for a minute and just like go be smart and go do some information on this stuff? Like, it's okay to go do stuff on this. It's good to be aware, like I just said. Right. I'd rather know what's going on than not, because I ain't drilled to the TV. I don't watch news. I don't keep track of none of that shit. Like, Well,
and interestingly enough, dealing with that.
Damn, already 23 minutes down. That one quick talking.
Back again to Freemasonry. There's a live, like, you can go online and you can find all kinds of crazy stuff that really is non-existent. And in fact, we would like to say we're not a secret society, but it is a society with secrets.
Yeah.
There is information and things that we have, that we hold, that, were entrusted to us that aren't let outside of the fraternity.
Yeah. And
that's, it's a very solemn and serious thing when you take your oaths of masonry. Generally, it's something you join for the rest of your life, and you don't have to, but generally it is a lifetime pursuit. Mm-hmm. But it's it's really neat to watch the growth that it can provide to people. Mm-hmm. Like, people come in and take those precepts and those understandings and apply them to their everyday life, and you watch them better themselves and grow and use the connections and the outreach the fraternity has to be able to essentially grow and better themselves.
Right. Yeah.
And there's very few qualifications to be a Mason, at least in America. You have to be a male, because it's a fraternity. You have to be over the age of 18. You have to be able to read and write in English, and you have to be a resident of the state for the last 6 months. The only other actual requirement is that you have to have a belief in a superior being. Now, we don't infringe on what that is. You could have the belief in any superior being that you'd like. If you believe in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, that's totally your business, and nobody's going to tell you can't do that. Mm-hmm. Right? But in America, it's largely tied in with Christianity to the point that there's heavy Christian references throughout it. But in itself, Masonry is not a religion. Nice. And it's not a replacement for a religion. But, for example, the two patron saints of Masonry are St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist, which we refer to as the two Saints Johns of Jerusalem.
Okay.
And they're used because essentially they are polar opposites, right? So St. John the Baptist was very quiet and reserved and was a very serious person and was very solemn, to where St. John the Evangelist was a very outspoken and preached to the people, was very loud and raucous. So between the two of them, they create balance. And that is essentially all things in Masonry are balance and equality, right? And that's what we all seek, really, in the universe, is balance. There has to be balance in everything. Mm-hmm. Good to every bad, right to every wrong, up to every down.
Yep.
the cosmic scales have to be balanced.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and that's
so true.
The deeper teachings of Masonry teach you to understand that, I guess, on maybe a better level. They lead into, esoterics. There's a very large esoteric side of Masonry. You can get into things like astral projection, and, just essentially further understandings of consciousness and reality.
Yeah.
Through ancient and sacred geometry, through, different principles and teachings.
Yeah.
So it really can get very, very deep.
That's great. Yeah, I've done my fair share on I more believe in the power of the universe and our thoughts on how we think.
Sure.
I believe that our thoughts determine really our reality and how we live.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because, it's for a reason. And once I feel like you start learning how to control your mind and thoughts, then really everything that you've ever wanted will come. And that goes with the manifestation and the law of like the 7 laws of the universe and stuff like that. And I just grasped onto it, and ever since then it's really just been really, really helpful to me. And
So you're 100% right that you manifest your reality.
Yeah, it's just
that is very, very real.
And I know what you're gonna say. It's like, well, it's kind of hard to monitor, but I think, well, it really isn't, because people are so focused on what they don't want instead of what they want. It's just a thing, because they're always contemplating that what if to everything. Say you don't have a driver's license, you drive around. Every time you get in your car, you're gonna feel some type of way, right? You're going to feel like, oh, I really hope I don't get pulled over today. Well, you say that a couple times a day, or you say that while you're driving and thinking that the entire time. It might not happen in 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, but it will happen, because the more you think of something like that, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So getting in control of your thoughts like that, managing the things you want instead of the things you don't want happening.
Right.
And on that note, hold your thought. We're going to take a break. It's at 28 minutes.
Good stuff.
Cool. I'm going to go and press the buttons. We'll be right back. All right, we guys are back from the break. Say what you were saying, though?
So
continue that, yeah.
You were talking about the people focusing on what they don't want instead of what they want.
Correct.
And this is really kind of a mind-blowing thing. But so everything that we do and everything that we understand by comparison, right? We compare one thing to another, and that's how we make determinations, hot to cold, but back and forth, front and back. Everything has an opposite and a comparison, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how your brain operates when you look at things. So, and when they talk about when you die, your life flashes before your eyes, right? So there's thought and theory that what causes that is your brain is looking for something to compare to death, but it's never experienced death before, so it doesn't know what it is. So your life flashing before your eyes is basically your brain flipping through the Rolodex of your memories, mm-hmm. looking for something to compare to you dying.
Wow.
But it doesn't find anything, so it keeps going. So that's your life literally is Rolodexing through your eyes. It's really crazy.
Wow. That's crazy. I like stuff like that, though, knowing stuff like that.
That's a crazy thought when you think about it.
I mean, it really is. It really is. We don't even know really our true potential of ourselves. You know what I mean? Even human beings, let alone, monitoring your thoughts and monitoring things like that. Well,
so when you look at the laws of energy, right? Mm-hmm. So the first law of energy is that energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be moved from place to place, transferred from one thing to another.
Right.
So based on that theory, there is the exact same amount of energy now as there was when energy zapped into existence.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Okay, because it's never been created or destroyed.
Right. Yeah, makes sense.
So dying is really, if you think about it, just energy passing from one source to another. Mm-hmm. Right? Because that energy has to go somewhere.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's not just, I don't know if it's necessarily out and about, but, that's that would essentially, like being your energy, reconnecting to a source would theoretically be heaven.
Yeah.
Or as perceived as heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Or just some, form of afterlife. Because unless that fundamental law of energy is incorrect, because that's all we are, is energy. And they covered this probably better than they ever have in the first Matrix movie. When Morpheus is talking to Neo after he brings him like out of the Matrix and into the real world.
Yeah.
And he's explaining that people essentially generate thousands of BTUs of body heat and energy. And that machines had found a way to, instead of birthing humans, grow them, to turn them into batteries. And that's, if you think about it, that's what you are. You're an electrical source and impulse that is constantly interacting electrically with everything around you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really simple for, an electrical impulse or something in that fact to be misconstrued. So if you think of like somebody that's got dementia, for example, that sees things that aren't there. So that's just essentially their brain interpreting that electrical signal differently than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily make one right or one wrong. They could essentially be seeing what is in truth reality, and we're seeing what is incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
And
Damn.
we just, the brain is such a complex, like, just system and set of processes that we haven't delved deep enough to truly understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, because we can like fully access 10?
I think something like that, like 10%, like full access. But I mean, you think of how like little that actually is. What's the rest of that doing?
Right. And that's the thing too, is like, I've heard, sunbathing with your third eye is a way to recharge and to gain energy off the sun too. It's actually really good for you to sun gaze and get that in. And they've always said that that's not good. They don't want you doing that because they don't want anyone to know about what's going on up in here. Because there is, and if you actually do some research too on this, the actual third eye was actually located on top of the forehead, on top of the head at first.
Okay.
Do you know that?
I did not. But it's, the same thing is, so if you're ever really drunk and the room's spinning,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you lay down on the bed, obviously the room's ceiling's spinning. If you take 1 foot off the bed and you put your bare foot on the floor, the room will instantly stop. It's the most magical thing you've ever seen. But it's because you're completing that electrical signal,
Yeah.
right? You've completed that circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no longer just electrical energy free-flowing. You're now grounded
Right.
to something.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
So that's really a cool time to really test how powerful your electrical signal really is. Like when you are the next time you're like spinny drunk, swear to God, try this. And it has to be spinny drunk. Like lay down, ceiling spinning.
Oh shit.
Take a sock off, 1 bare foot on the floor, and I swear to God, you're like, holy crap. As soon as you lift your foot up, rip, lines up like a top. Craziest thing.
Damn. That's really neat.
But,
that's cool, man.
That's that electrical force, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know about that. Just in tune with themselves and shit, and feeling those things. And I love grounding. I'll walk my yard days, man, when the ground's not wet and when it's dry and it's like 70, 50, 60 degrees out. Walk outside, ground myself. Man, it's actually helped cure my knee.
Well, because there's free neurons and things that are just, floating on the. I mean, you're meant to connect with those. Humans were designed to be barefoot. We weren't meant to have
shoes and shit.
A big giant layer of rubber between our feet and the earth, man.
And exactly with the earth too. This was not meant to build concrete because underneath pushing, dude, that force is not. It's not meant to do that. It's just not, and it's crazy when you start thinking shit like that too. Having thoughts about stuff like that. It's not like bad or nothing, but it's just like, damn. It's true though. It's true. You don't tell me you can't walk out in your yard right now. Maybe it might be wet depending on where you're at, or dry, whatever.
A little fucking cold.
It is a little cold.
I don't know if I barefoot in the grass right now, but I probably regret it.
I'm good on that. I'd sit out in the sun though, and like, you know, but you actually start feeling a change. Like I had a really bad knee accident that I didn't get taken care of in Missouri when I skateboarded, and it's still a little, I got a little piece of my bone taken out and whatever else. But of the years I've grounded and put good thoughts in them, you know, my knee, it's actually I've self-healed myself, which that's a possibility too. Our bodies are actually self-healable if you actually, there you go. Controlling your thoughts, wake up every day, say you're great, you feel great, you know, stretch, do a little bit of a workout, and then like, you know what I mean, go with your day. But, you know, you're always saying you're great, you're good, you know, don't ever say okay or whatever else, because you feel that way. You actually intend on feeling that way then instead of actually feeling great. So start monitoring your thoughts and start thinking good thoughts, even about yourself. It sounds corny as shit, but it's real, because I have more of a value of life now, where I'm actually feeling good. I can say everything in this garage I praise for, even the little pop can container up there on the top. You know what I mean? I'm just grateful to have it. The socks on my feet, the shoes that fucking help me walk through shit, you know?
Yeah. While you're on self-healing, are you still doing the cold water plunges?
So I haven't done one in about 6 months just because of the cold. I didn't do it at all.
Sleep water outside and it's just already cold, like you don't have to do nothing.
I just didn't want to do it. I was like, I kind of chickened out on it. But what I want to do is actually, I'm getting one of them, you know, them like aluminum or metal.
Yeah, like tubs like they use in like sports. Like
Yeah. I want to get one of those and actually convert it to a hot tub and a cold plunge. So like you can buy like them coiled rings and make a fire in the middle of it and have it a hot tub too. So I want to do that. And I want to get something better than the barrel. The barrel's cool. It's just there's not a lot of room in there. Yeah. Like when I get in there, I gotta bend my knees and my feet are actually touching my butt, and I'm sitting in there and my arms are like this. Like it's really uncomfortable. If I could get in there and just lay down into something,
bro, I'm literally cold just thinking about it.
Yeah, it definitely is cold thinking about it. And you know what's crazy is
thinking about it, my body temperature just dropped a few degrees.
It wasn't even a cold plunge, really. If you think about it, the water temperature was 30 degrees. It was just straight from the faucet, but it was fucking cold,
bro,
dude.
I'm gonna tell you right now,
cold.
That's cold for me, my guy.
Yeah, cold. And you got.
I would literally be cold. It would take me like probably till 2025 before I warmed up again. Like, can you imagine spending all of 2024 going like this?
Nah,
Let me do one cold water plunge. Bro, this would be my 2024, just like this.
Yeah,
it'd be crazy.
They're really good though, man. They get rid of headaches. If you're eating right, it helps you make you lose weight. Dude, you just feel fucking on top of the world afterwards. And then when it's sunny outside, like you'll hop out and you're supposed to air dry. Man, just sitting there in the ground and the grass grounding.
You extra lost me. Hold on. So not only are you wet, but you're gonna let the wind blow you while you're. So check it out.
If it's windy out that day, if it's not,
right, so
you know,
it's just a funny final little note thing. A few more minutes.
Yeah.
So the reason that it's so much more miserable in like humid weather than when it's in like dry heat, you know, everybody's like, oh, I've always preferred dry heat to you know, humidity.
Oh yeah.
So sweat absorbing off of your skin actually cools you down. Like the energy transfer of the sweat physically being absorbed, right, creates energy which cools you down.
Damn.
And that's why you stay cooler in dry heat than in wet heat, because in wet, like in humidity, what happens is the air is so full of moisture that the sweat absorbs or is evaporated off at a slower rate.
That makes sense.
And so it sits on your skin for longer and makes you feel like clammy, gross.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
It's exactly what it is, dude.
Damn. That's crazy.
About, yeah, that's legit. That's what it is. That like you just because you're staying out in the sun, bro. So it's like especially if it's dry, especially if it's a dry, like heat or a dry day and it's not humid and that wind's blowing, dude. You're talking that wind's gonna hit you. That's gonna drop your body temperature probably an extra 10 degrees. Dude. Yeah, like just all that energy transfer happening all at once, dude. Is like.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, no way, dude. No way I'm jumping out of that tub and standing there to air dry in the outside. You're crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and then I go stand in the grass, and if it's sunny out, then I just ground. You know, you know what I mean? I'll just walk up and down my yard.
Dude, my poor little skinny butt, dude. And I fucking, you know, I'm maintaining the body heat anyways. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know. It's just kind of one of them things in your head, you know?
Yeah. But still, I applaud you for doing it because I promise you, not something I could do.
Yeah, it's, I mean, there's even days I fought going in there, but I still did it. But there's days I did fought about going in there, but I didn't. You know,
I'd have to have like literally a hot shower already running, and I would have to literally jump from the cold water into the hot shower and like curl into a ball. And my problem is when I get cold like that, man, my muscles like all lock down.
Oh damn.
And so like I've got like a neck injury that, especially like when all this locks down, like it really starts to hurt. And it's just like, because it's all just like smashed in there. So it's like being cold, dude, is really an uncomfortable thing for me. So the thought of deliberately dunking myself into a cup of fucking ice cold water, but it's just, look, I've been skydiving, I've been bungee jumping, I ride, motorcycles at really fast speeds. I've done a lot of really crazy stuff in my day, but dude, you lost me, dipped me in a cold bucket of water, dude, and stayed in the wind to dry. That's everybody's got to draw their line somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, man. I just said fuck it, like.
No, man, I appreciate you having me on, man. I feel like we covered some really cool stuff today, so I'm glad I got to come out and be a part of this.
Yeah, this shit was fun. If you want to come back too, man, anytime you want, we can do this anytime. Any episodes.
I'd like to get me and Joe up here at the same time. I think me and Joe would play.
Joe would do another one.
Yep, that's a call to you, Joe.
Dude, I might have to make a YouTube short on this just to make for him specifically to post and then tag him in it. Yep. That's gonna be it.
I think that'd be fine.
We'll get Joe back on here. Well, and the crazy thing too is before we dip, when I move, I'm actually buying a U-shaped 7-set patio set.
Okay.
Top of it's black, the cushions are gray, so I could have a U-shape, so I could sit in the middle. I could have 2 people over there and 2 people over here, and we could have a good conversation. And I think,
like, dude, bro, it's gonna look like The View in here.
Exactly. Well, exactly. Things are changing.
Come on,
for
Charlamagne, let's go.
Oh God. But yeah, man, it was a pleasure having you on today, man. Thanks for making this drive up here, dude. I appreciate it. It's good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a few months, so I appreciate you and your time and your wisdom for the people. This is my friend Tim, man. This is Garage Hangs. You guys have a good rest of your day, man. We'll talk soon.
Enjoy.
Peace.